Hello and welcome back to the channel. There's a very real reality that the world is facing. The world is facing the reality that things are changing, that the earth itself is responding to that change. Now, all of this change was already written within the timelines of life by the Most High. The Most High have spoken things, and we as humans are seeing those things unfold right before our eyes. There were things that were prophesied before the foundation of the world. Things concerning the last days. Whether we will hear or forbear is completely up to us. It is completely up to us whether we will hear or forbear. Now, the reality is right now, there seems to be a strange split in the country right now as it relates to weather. Now, I was watching a very popular garden channel, and just days ago, while the rest of the country, or a good portion of the country, is right smack dab in the middle of some very dangerous heat, this garden channel was talking about how it was northward where she is. Okay? She was explaining how she was literally out in her garden doing work with a heavy jacket on. She was explaining just how cold it was the morning that she was out there doing the work. And she even said in the video, she says, I realize the rest of the country, or a good majority of the country, is dealing with something very different, or quite different than what we're dealing with. She went on to say, she says, I know we'll probably get it eventually, but the rest of the country is dealing with strong heat or high temperatures, drought-like situations, while they were dealing with cool mornings to where she needed a jacket. And I recently reported on the blizzard that was up in Maine, in the northern regions of Maine, where there were snow and ice storms that covered and blanketed certain areas, and where one guy actually died as a result of it. So isn't that some strange stuff, y'all? I'll put it to you this way. You see that container there, that water container there? Some time ago, we had purchased a lot of those, and we have filled those with water. And they have been put into various parts of the farm to where the water is not just right there. So we put the water in those containers, and we dispersed it in various areas so that there is some water in the general areas, and we put drip irrigation on it. Now, even the drip irrigation is not enough in this kind of weather. The drip irrigation is not enough. So yes, we have those containers back there, and we fill them with water, I would say, every day or two. Every couple of days. We go a day, skip a day. By the time we get back there, stuff is still dry because of the extreme temperatures. These temperatures have been around for quite some time now. There seems to be a slight cooling coming next week, but with the damage that has already been done from the heat in some areas have already experienced extreme damage to their crops. Some areas have already experienced the extreme damage. And so, that being said, we are going to actually see that affected in the prices of food. They've already warned us of this. I've seen articles that said whenever you have drought or shortage on water, you're going to have a shortage on food as well. Because the water, or the lack of water, affects the food. That being said, we had what I would consider an emergency family meeting. And in that meeting, we discussed things that we've been discussing for years. What do we do if? How do we prepare for this if? These are the kinds of things that we all need to be talking about. What do you do if? While I'm at it, I wanted to just throw this in here since I'm right here where they are. Sometimes you just don't know certain things unless you search these things out or you hear someone else talking about it. But I wanted to point out those hostas right there. We have different types of hostas on this property. Yes, they are beautiful to the landscape, and it seems as though they double and triple in size every year. Those got some weeds growing in them, but hey, nonetheless, I know what the leaves are like. I know what the leaves look like from the pieces of grass that's growing through there. But what I wanted to say about the hostas, y'all, I wanted to point out the fact that the hostas are edible. We need to know what is food that we are growing in our landscape. What is edible? I've seen different recipes on how you can hook hostas up. You see, we need to know this stuff. Check this out. Even though we watered this area this morning, I can see the evidence that that plant right there needs something to drink. I can see the evidence of that. It needs something. You see, what's happening is all of this extra heat is actually drinking up the water quite fast. This is why we water in the mornings and in the evenings. These temperatures are no joke. But more so than the temperatures, we need to look at reality. And the reality is the world is changing. The earth is changing. And we need to take heed. I'm going to come on over here and grab me a piece of dealweed off of here. Dealweed is a beautiful plant to me. You can incorporate it into your landscape. That one right there needs some water. But it also tastes really good. Chew on that now. That was moved. It doesn't belong there. We put it there because we were doing some work in the area where it was sitting. But you can tell that this plant needs some help. It's going to be getting its, look at how dry that is. This heat is no joke. We're going to be watering everything again in a few hours. We like to wait till the sun goes down a little, so that it's not just drying it all up as we put it on the areas. If you don't know how serious all this stuff is, you better get a clue fast, because imagine what it's like in some of those countries to where they don't get rain for 3 years. And when they do get rain, finally, there is like a celebration that takes place. Things that we take for granted. We take this stuff for granted. But this stuff is not to be taken for granted. We take it for granted that we have a power washer that we can turn on to kick up water to clean something, or to wash something, or to mist something. We take stuff like that for granted. We take it for granted. But what if that option was no longer on the table? What if that option was removed because the creator of heaven and earth said, if I shut up heaven, there will be no rain? This is what we are talking about. We need to understand what's going on, y'all. Understand what's going on. I'm looking at all these different kinds of lettuces and greens we have in this area. all these different lettuces and greens. We thank the Most High for this stuff. Not only can we eat it, but our animals can eat it too. I thank the Most High that we have the option to grow food, the ability to grow food. But what if the Most High shuts up heaven and there be no rain? Those are the things that people are not considering. They are not considering the prophecies that actually talk about this stuff. They are not considering the fact that the Most High said that there's going to be a day, there will be a day to where he will shut up heaven and he's going to scorch the earth. Just like one fella I was listening to the other day, he says people come on his channel accusing him of fear-mongering. And he basically said, think and believe what you want. I'm going to handle my business. Think and believe what you want. If you don't believe what the Bible says about what is to come, then have it your way and see how that works out for you. But those of us in the know, those of us who believe biblical prophecy, those of us who see what is going on and believe what is going on, we are going to take heed. Just something else I want to give you about edible landscape. It's important that we know this stuff because we need to know what we can eat if and when the crap hits the fan. Look at those canna lilies there. Those are edible. Those are edible. Another thing, I'm going to just point out one that's over here. This one was a seed that dropped from last year, but we have a whole bed that these grew in. Now, they can be invasive, but they are a beautiful invasive. Those are celosia. That's just a seed that found its way in the ground. It's not fully grown. That's going to turn into like a coxcomb head right there. But the leaves and the flower of that, we left it there. We could have dug it up because it didn't belong there. But because I like the way the plant looks, I just left it. It's going to turn into a beautiful, larger flower when it's fully grown. But those are edible as well. Now, of course, this right here, that's dealweed. But as you see, even though we watered this thoroughly, this intense heat, look at what the intense heat is doing to that basil. Of course, it will be revived again when we douse it with water and it gets a chance to heal overnight. This is the reality right now that we are looking at. It's not a good idea to water things when the sun is blazing on it. I mean, if you have to, you have to. But if you can wait, it's better because you will save energy. You will conserve energy because it's literally just wasting water when you try to water things in such hot conditions. It's better to wait because the water will sit longer, and so the plant will have a better opportunity of enjoying that water versus the heat, fighting against this intense heat. One thing I will say is that we should be thankful to be alive. That I am. Grateful to be alive. We still must cry aloud and spare not, and lift up our voices like trumpets in Zion. And admonish one another daily. This is what we are commanded to do. Admonish one another daily. Some people will catch it after a bit. Right now, things are not bad enough for some people to catch on. Some people will still say, well, I don't see the importance in this, and I don't see the importance in that. Some people are still going to have that attitude. Some people don't see the importance of trying, at least, to grow your own food. But there will come a day and a time to where more and more people are going to understand it better by and by. But until then, we will continue to cry aloud and spare not, while there's still running, blood is still running warm in our veins. We must continue to sound the alarm. It's very hot out today, y'all, but it is what it is. And instead of complaining about it, let's just roll with the punches and go with the flow, knowing that the Most High is in control. That being said, I'm out.